Hello, you are listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer and Amazon #1 bestselling author. You can find out more about me and my work at catherinecarrigan.com and unlimitedenergynow.com. While you're there, definitely sign up for my newsletter so you can learn even more about how you can heal yourself naturally. Now, our guest today is Alexander Dunlop. Alexander Dunlop is a life coach and author of Play Your Cards Right, Sacred Guide to Life on Earth. You can find out more about Alexander Dunlop and his wonderful work at lifeelevated.life. Welcome, Alexander Dunlop.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Now, this system that you came up with is something that's been around for a while. So you discovered it. Would you share for our audience what you went through as you were working to find your own life purpose and how you came about finding this system that you write about in your wonderful book?
Well, thank you. Yes. So the first thing to say, so that we're clear, is we're talking about a regular 52 deck of playing cards that you can find in any convenience store or drugstore. These 52 cards form an ancient system of knowledge that was hidden in plain sight. It's the sacred geometry of our existence. And it's been around for as long as we know. We don't know how old it is, but we can trace it all the way back to 5000 BC. It's ancient, and it was hidden in plain sight. And I had been on a spiritual quest since I was 17. I grew up Roman Catholic, agnostic, didn't mean much to me, but I had a spiritual awakening when I was 17, and that propelled me on this whole adult journey. I became an evangelical Christian. Then I left that behind. I went to Roman Catholic seminary. I thought I was going to be a priest. Meanwhile, I got a job on Wall Street because I had been a student at Harvard studying philosophy. So I leveraged my diploma and was working on Wall Street for a while, did the whole corporate American thing, and then left that behind. I went to India and I was living in ashrams, meditating all day. I became a Swami. Eventually left there, came back, started a holistic health center, became raw vegan for a while, still searching, looking for answers. I was doing ayahuasca ceremonies at the time with shamans. And then casually at a party in Brooklyn, one day, one fateful day, the day after I found out I was getting divorced, actually, I went to this party. I'm like, oh, I got to get out, clear my head. And I saw an old Burning Man campmate, because I used to go to Burning Man. And he says, oh, what's your date of birth? August 30th. Why? He says, keep in mind, I just found out I was going through a divorce. He says, oh, you're born to play the 9 of hearts. And that means in this life, you're going to go through tragic endings of the heart. You have to learn how to let go and move on. And I had a deja vu moment where the air got thick and my knees buckled a little bit, because that's, of course, exactly what I was going through. And I was at a crossroads in my life anyway. So I started researching and studying about the real meaning of the ordinary deck of playing cards. And there's very little written about it, but I've since written my own book about it. And this knowledge is starting to percolate out, and wonderful people such as yourself are starting to hear about it. And I believe that this knowledge is coming back to us now for a reason, because we're on the verge of a quantum leap of consciousness. And I believe that this knowledge will assist us and give us the toolkit and the foundation to live a more enlightened life as a society. Because when we all know our cards to play, then we can support each other to be our best self. And it helps me tremendously as a parent, for example, to know my children's cards to play. And for your audience, so that they know, it's all based on numbers. It's based on our date of birth. Based on your date of birth, you have 13 cards in your life, and these cards form your soul's blueprint in this lifetime. So then we can see this is our blueprint. We still have free will, but at least now we have the map. And then we can make more informed choices. It's like having the GPS navigation for our life. And so this is what it has meant for me. And it's been now 10 years since I first discovered this knowledge. I started a nonprofit organization to share this knowledge, and I've been coaching people to play their cards right.
That's fantastic. Now, Alexander Dunlop, what is the system you use to read a person's cards? So we're using just a regular deck, but it's related to our birth date.
Yes, it is. And so let me give a little more context then. The 52 cards in the deck, right? And then there are 52 weeks in the year. There's the 4 suits, hearts, clubs, diamonds, spades, and there are 4 seasons in the year. There are 13 cards in each suit from the ace to the king. And there are 13 weeks in each season. Now, where it gets really interesting is you add up the face value of the cards. So the ace is worth 1, then you have the 2 through the 10. The jack, queen, king is 11, 12, 13. So you add them all up, 1 plus 2 plus 3. For all the 52 cards, you add up their numbers and you get 364. And the Joker is the 53rd symbol, and he's the 5th element in this 4-part system. And his numeric value is represented as a proportion of 5/4, or 1 1/4. So you add the Joker back, we get 365 1/4. So it's a mathematical model of our solar year. And again, it's as old as anything we know. And it's connected to our calendar. So based on the numbers of your date of birth, then you have a birth card, which is the card of that day. And then based on being able, gets a little more esoteric, but then being able to read the life spread or the spiritual spread of how these cards are laid out, then we get the whole life path. And so that's how we do it. It's based on the numbers of the date of birth and then reading the whole life path from there.
Now, what are these cards and how did you find them?
Well, what the cards are, I believe, is a way for us to live the life that our soul is yearning for. I believe that we choose our life. I believe we choose our parents, we choose our whole experience, then we forget, and then we can struggle with it. But I believe we choose our cards because this is the game, in the biggest sense, a metaphysical game. This is the game that we as a soul wanted to play. And so what the cards reveal to us are the patterns of our life that we're here to play out, the sacred geometric patterns. That's why people say, oh, I'm stuck in the same pattern. We have the same recurring pattern over and over. And it's true. We have recurring patterns that we're learning how to master. We're learning how to play our cards right. And as I said, we have free will, but we're learning how to play these patterns. It's like playing a game, and it's best to do it with a beginner's mind, to realize that we're all approaching our life like a child at play, and to play out like we're trying to solve a riddle, solve a Rubik's Cube. And as we do, what I've noticed over and over again with my coaching clients and in my own life is that when we start to consciously play our cards right, then life becomes magical. The right people show up, doors open, the serendipities and synchronicities start happening, all because we're in line with and in tune with the underlying sacred geometry of our life, which these cards reveal. So that's what it means to us. And how I found it, or what it means to me, I don't think I would have been really ready to receive it if I hadn't already searched everywhere. You know, if I hadn't looked under every stone and met every spiritual teacher, I only gave you the highlights of my spiritual quest. It was a long one. And I really searched everywhere. And then the playing cards, what? I never thought that would be where I was going to find my answer to the meaning of my life. But I had exhausted every other possibility. So when it showed up, I was curious enough to dig in and learn more.
Now, for our audience, if you're listening and want to know what your cards are, you can find an appendix at the back of Alexander Dunlop's book that you can look up your birth date, and it'll tell you your birth card and your personality card, and it'll help you understand you a little bit better. So
Yes.
what I'm especially curious about is in my work as a medical intuitive, so many people these days are really wanting to understand their soul purpose, why they're here. And I feel as a medical intuitive healer, when you understand what your soul purpose is, you can consciously go about fulfilling what it is that your soul is wanting to do.
Exactly.
So, how can your system, with using the playing cards, help us to discover our soul purpose?
That's a great question. And so, may I use you as an example?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, as you know, you're born to play the Jack of Clubs.
And I
And
was I was born on March 25th, 1959, if anyone's curious. Okay.
okay, yes, so that means that based on the esoteric number system, which is more than we're going to get into on your show, that means your birth card is the Jack of Clubs. And clubs is the suit of the mind. And the Jack is actually a symbol of Metatron's cube. The Jack was placed on in the Middle Ages to hide the real meaning. So even though this knowledge was released publicly in the 14th century, it was still partially hidden. The Jack is actually Metatron's cube. And Metatron, if you know, is the symbolism from the flower of life of the ability to generate anything. All
Mm.
the platonic solids come out of Metatron's cube. It's the building blocks of life. So I would say that your soul's purpose is to generate the new forms of life.
Mm.
And that's what you're here to do. And you can teach it, you can write it, you can share it, and you help other people to regenerate their life as well.
That's so interesting. I am at this point the author of 10 books. One, so I'm like, what's next? And one of my 10 books is called Unlimited Energy Now, which is all about how to regenerate your personal energy, because the number one thing that I see in my new clients is everybody's exhausted, right? So it's how do you regenerate yourself?
Yes, and you have a gift to do that. That you have access to unlimited energy. Anyone who's born to play a Jack, they stay youthful throughout their life, usually,
And
because
I'm
you have access to the regenerate your energy all the time.
and I'm 61 years old. And
Right.
I tell everybody it's all real, all of it.
Yes, and you have still a lot of energy, like you said. You're like, what's next?
What's next? Exactly. Yes.
So then to answer part two of your question, what I've found for myself and whenever I've shared this knowledge with people is that, and to your point, when we're living in harmony with our soul's purpose, everything else settles into the right alignment for us. And coming out of my Christian heritage, I would say it like this, the way Jesus framed it: seek first the kingdom of God, and everything else will be added to you. And to put it in the language of these cards, it's consciously choose to live your soul's purpose as laid out for you in this ancient knowledge, and you will find that everything else lines up for you, even your health and well-being, your finances, your relationships. Everything starts in this ripple effect out from living in harmony with your soul's purpose.
Now, so many people, as I talked about, are really wanting to understand their soul purpose. What are some signs and symptoms, Alexander Dunlop, that you see when people are not living in harmony with their purpose? I find this is a big cause of depression. It's a big cause of illness. And then how does someone know when they've stumbled upon what it is they're here to do? Do we have to spend decades like you did going to India and studying every esoteric kind of knowledge there is?
Well, right. And that's often what I tell people is like, you could do what I did, and you can. You could spend 25 years and go everywhere, or you could read about your cards to play. You could take the shortcut. Um, and what I have noticed, to answer your question, is that unfortunately, people take their existential malaise for granted. They take their stress, their anxiety, oh, I'm never going to find the right relationship. Oh, it's so hard to make money. I'm stuck, but that's just the way it is, right? They take it for granted because they don't know any better, unfortunately. They don't know that there is a pathway for them, and they don't have to stay stuck in that kind of halfway twilight gray zone of their life where they have all these symptoms of their malaise. Um, what happens for people when they do find their soul's purpose? And again, and to say the obvious, I hope, there are many ways to find our soul's purpose, many ways. It so happens that I found it through these cards, and I've seen that, and this is really fascinating, all the different esoteric systems of knowledge all start to overlap and tell us the same things about ourselves. So I've studied them all. I've studied human design, gene keys. I know my Vedic chart, my sidereal chart, my Western chart, right? And then they all start to say the same things. It's like, very interesting how that happens. But it just so happens that for me, these cards really hit home and have been the most meaningful for me. And what happens is like a light bulb goes on. At least that's how it has been for me and my clients when they talk to me. It's like, oh, that's what it is. It's so easy. I can do that. And that's often in my coaching practice. I'm actually coaching people to change their belief system that it's supposed to be hard. It doesn't have to be hard. Wait, no, that's crazy talk. No, no,
Yeah.
no. Really, it doesn't have to be hard.
Yeah. And I feel that as a medical intuitive healer, I feel that if it is hard, it's because you're going in the wrong direction.
Exactly.
You know, that all the cliches, you're barking up the wrong tree, you're pushing the river. You know, when you're in your purpose, then life flows with you and to
Exactly.
you, right?
Exactly. And this is what all the great religions and systems of knowledge have told us, that there is grace, right? That there's flow, there's abundance, there's harmony that's available to us if only we would tune into it. But I didn't know how, right? I knew that intellectually, but until I found that I'm born to play the Nine of Hearts, and until I had that moment of, oh, Nine of Hearts, I have this deep emotional experience because hearts is heart. And the number nine is we do it to the nines. So I didn't understand why I was feeling everything so deeply and other people weren't feeling it. And I was very confused. Knowing my cards to play gave me access to rest and relax into myself and not question or doubt or judge my experience. And this is what so many people tell me is like, oh, I can relax and be who I know I really am. And then that relaxation opens us up to the flow.
Now let's talk about the four suits and what you've got hearts, clubs, diamonds, and spades.
Mm-hmm.
In general, what are the soul purposes behind the people in these four suits?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the four suits, the four elements, and the four seasons, and the four aspects of humanity. So clubs is mind, and it's a clover. If you look, it's a flower.
Mm-hmm.
Hearts is heart. Diamonds is gut.
Mm.
And just below the belly button, that gut area. So you have the mind, the heart, and the body, because the diamonds is a symbol of the body, which are the three classical divisions of human being.
Mm.
The spade is actually an acorn, and the acorn is a symbol of the pineal gland,
Mm.
consciousness, vision, imagination. And the acorn is used as the symbol because it's a great mystery of how the whole oak tree is contained in this tiny acorn. It's a similar mystery of how, from what we believe, this tiny seed, then everything that we are is contained in the seed of our own belief. And so the spade is actually a symbol that we are a holy trinity.
Mm.
We are three in one beings. We're not a mind, a heart, or a body. We're all three in one that starts with what we believe we are. So people born to play a heart game, such as myself, The number matters, right? The 9, the 8, or the 7. But just to talk generally about a heart game is we're here to inspire.
Mm,
We're here to lift people up, to
mm,
be passionate, to live through our heart, and at our best, to have emotional intelligence, right? Clubs is mind. It's constructive, creative, building, having the ideas that change the world. You know, someone thought up sliced bread once upon a time. Someone else thought up indoor plumbing. Oh, that would be a good idea, right? So these are the ideas that change our world at best. Or club people can get lost in their heads,
mhm,
and heart people, we can get lost in our sentiments.
mhm,
The diamond energy is very practical and pragmatic.
mhm.
It's where does the rubber hit the road? You know, talk is cheap. How are we going to embody this? What does this mean? So diamond people, they're here to embody the energy. And they could be very superficial and stuck on appearances or money, or they can show us what really matters most. This is what matters most, and I use my words deliberately. This is what matters most, and they embody that energy and reveal that. The spade energy is the most interesting because it's about believing and doing. It's imagining it, it's envisioning it, and then it's having the willpower to act it out and make that vision, make that vision a reality. But oftentimes, spade people can be split. They'll either be dreamers or they'll be doers, but not together. So spade people can be workaholics, just doing, or they can be dreamy people who are lost in their dreams. But all four play essential roles in our whole society, and all the different numbers play essential roles as well. It's like a big symphony. We're all playing a musical instrument because it's all energy. We're playing out this energy, and we either contribute a harmonious tune or not to the whole field. And then we all play together.
And you mentioned that the four suits correspond to the four seasons of the year. So, what are the seasonal correspondences?
Sure. Hearts are the spring, clubs the summer, diamonds autumn. It's the harvest. We're gathering the harvest and making it real and tangible. And the spade is winter, where the seed becomes dormant and rests and then is ready to sprout again in the spring. And the elements of the four suits, the heart is fire, like a candlelight to light. And clubs is water. Diamonds is earth, obviously enough, the matter, the earth. And the spade is prana, or air,
Mhm.
consciousness.
That's wonderful. Now, you also, as we discussed, your system is based on numbers. And
Mhm.
many people may have studied numerology and
Yes.
helping them to find their life purpose that way. Can you walk our audience through the different numbers and what they mean as far as soul purpose?
I can certainly try to do a quick overview. Um, I will say that if you know numerology, the numbers do mean the same, right? So I've seen numerologists, the way they explain a 2 or a 5, and it's the same, roughly. Um, but so to go through it briefly, the number 1 is the initiator, brand new, bring it forth and ace it, right? Be the one who delivers that. But there can be insecurity, right? Because have I done it? Have I brought it forth? The 2 is about connection,
Hmm.
creating connection, 2 links in the chain of being. And yet there can be codependence, like I can't do it unless somebody else does it with me. But the 2 is about creating union and connection. The 3, it's about creativity. How do we create a path? What's the third option, right? And how do we create our own way through this? Or 3s can be indecisive. and uncertain because they don't trust their own way. The 4 is about structure and order and organization, or maybe getting stuck or stifled, stuck inside a box, stuck inside a routine. So they all have positives and negatives, again, because it's all how we choose to play it. The 5 is out of the box, innovating, going on an adventure, or being restless and spinning your wheels and never actually having the courage to go across the horizon and find a new way. The 6 is the number of karma and alignment, balancing the debits and credits of life. So if you have a 6 as your soul's purpose, 6 of clubs, hearts, diamonds, spades, and any of those suits, you're here to bring karmic alignment, and your life will feel karmic and fated because you're here to bring that with you wherever you go. Because remember, we're always expressing these energies, even if we don't know our cards to play. We're always embodied in these energy frequencies. And so we're always bringing that. We're always giving that. And so the 6 energy is bringing alignment and order, or they're stuck in a rut and inflexible and stubborn and unyielding. The 7, we typically think of as a spiritual number. It's about elevating and flipping the spirit of the law, not the letter of the law, taking the higher meaning. And people with the 7 as a soul's purpose will be here to adjust our perspective, pivot our understanding, see the bigger picture, see how it can all connect together. Or they can be riddled with self-doubt. The 8 energy is a power number. And so people with this as a soul purpose, they have a power game to play. And I have a lot of clients who are born to play an 8, in part, I think, because we just don't have good representations of power in our society. So people who are here to play a power game, they don't know what that looks like because they only ever see people corrupting power or abusing power. And that can certainly happen with an 8. They can be bullies. They can just push other people around. But they're here to be the power players. They're here to be CEOs. They're here to be politicians. And hopefully exercise their power in a good way, because we need that. The 9 energy, which I'm born to play, is an energy of transcendence, lifting other people up to a higher level. And that's what I do in my work. And it's interesting, if you look at like popular spiritual teachers, they're almost always born to play a 9 energy. Like Eckhart Tolle is a 9 of diamonds, Wayne Dyer is a 9 of diamonds, Tony Robbins is a 9 of clubs, Adyashanti, the Buddhist meditation teacher, he's born to play a 9 of hearts. Our game is to help people transcend, to lift up in their life. But if we're not playing our game, we can climb down our own ladder and climb down into our own pity party. The 10 energy is the entertainer. And if you look, and you can look if you want, it's fun. My wife and I, we love looking up celebrities' cards. A lot of successful entertainers and pop stars have a 10 energy because it's about shining a light, shining in the spotlight. But a lot of 10s have a love-hate relationship with the spotlight. And I have a lot of 10 clients as well. And I'm encouraging them, shine your light. You got a light to shine. Go ahead and shine it. Don't be shy. So this brings up a good point, which is being able to tailor our message for each person. And that would be my one critique of any of these spiritual teachers. They have a one-size-fits-all approach. And we actually can have a very specific set of recommendations and advice to give to different people depending on their soul's purpose, which is different based on their numbers. So someone such as yourself, who's born to play the Jack, which is the number 11, as we mentioned, you're here to be the generator. You're going to generate the new forms. You're going to make life interesting. Where it's old and broken down and decayed, you're going to generate the new forms, the new ways. But the danger for someone with your soul's purpose is not taking responsibility for what you know. Jack can be too cool for school. Don't fence me in. Don't hold me accountable. I just want to play. So it's important that you're responsible for what you know and hold yourself accountable to what you know, and then bring that forth and generate that. The queen, which is the number 12, is a symbol of perfection. So people with a 12 as a soul purpose, they're here to perfect things, which means, ironically, an appreciation of the process, because life is messy, life is in flux. So how can we see, or how could someone with this energy, how can they see perfection in the moment? It's a very Zen approach at their best, to see the perfection in the moment of what is, and to nurture that and advocate for that. But unfortunately, oftentimes people with this queen life purpose, soul purpose, they get perfectionistic and demanding. Nothing is ever good enough or up to their standards. The king, the 13, he's the commander, the authority, and it can be for men or women. Right? It's a masculine archetype, but equally true whether you're born as a man or a woman to play this energy. You're here to command, and that's your soul's purpose. You're here to lead the way. And that's another very interesting one, because I often have clients, they come, they meet me, and they find out they're born to play a 3 or a 4 or a 2. And they're like, oh man, I want to be a king. Like, listen, I have a lot of clients who are kings, and they suffer because for them, the crown weighs heavy and they feel it as a tremendous burden. They don't want to lead. Somebody else lead. Why do I have to lead? You lead, right? So for all people born to play a king, they have to put their crown on and lead with dignity and with grace. Or if they don't do that, they can be avoidant of authority and subversive, or just authoritarian, trying to command other people because I said so, that's why, damn it. And they're not leading from a place of integrity or authenticity. So there you go. I did it.
That's really, really helpful for our audience. And of course, they can read more in your book, Play Your Cards Right.
Yes.
Now, how can we're talking here about our soul purpose and understanding what our soul purpose is. So again, when you find people who discover their soul purposes through the cards, can you give us some examples of clients that you've maybe worked with who were unclear, and then they kind of figured out their cards and they brought it into their own life?
Yes, no, that's a great question. And that's actually my favorite thing to talk about, is that, and I'm a heart energy, I love to talk about people's success stories, because absolutely, and even just the minor tweaks suddenly make a big difference. So here's an example. A woman came to me, she's born to play the 8 of diamonds, and I just was talking about the power. She's a petite woman of Filipino descent. She was the youngest of 5 with 4 older brothers. And she came to me, she was SVP, Senior Vice President of multinational global corporation. And she said to me, I think I've hit a glass ceiling. I don't know if I should leave. They're not promoting me. I think I should be promoted. I think I've hit that proverbial glass ceiling. Looking at her cards to play, I said, listen, you're born to be the chief. 8 of diamonds, you are the chief. You are the power player. This is your game to play. You can be CEO. Your instinct is correct. And it was such a relief for her to hear that. And this is over a period of several coaching sessions, but the long and short of it is she didn't believe that she could see herself that way. She thought it was selfish. She thought it was arrogant, foolish. She's like, I didn't think that I was allowed to see myself as the boss, as the chief. Because the way she was raised, chauvinistic tradition, being the youngest of 5, a petite woman, but her energy is the energy to be the boss. So over a series of coaching sessions, helping her to, dissolve the mindset and change her whole self-awareness. Within a couple of months, she got promoted,
Mm.
like magic. And this is what I see over and over again. We change how we show up, and then life shows up differently for us. And she got promoted, and now she's got a big promotion. And then she actually got promoted again. She's been a client of mine now for a couple of years, and she keeps getting promoted um, because she shifted her own mindset. So here's another example. I had a woman come to me this years ago also, and she was like, I'm ready for a divorce. I don't know what to do. I've tried everything. We've been married 25 years, it's not working. Tried couples therapy. I think that's it. I think I'm done. Look at her cards to play. She was born to play a Jack of Diamonds, which she needs to be independent and to do her own thing, which she had never really done. So I helped her. She wanted to start a business. We got that going for her. Her personality card is the Four of Hearts. And the personality is how we show up. And the reason why this is relevant in her case is that the four is a box, organization and structure, and the hearts are the people in her life. And she kept getting stuck in her own way. She didn't know how to express her feelings. She didn't know how to ask for what she wanted. She didn't even know that what she really wanted was just to feel emotionally safe.
Mm.
She didn't even know that. And she's like, oh, it makes perfect sense. I don't need my husband to actually do anything for me. I just need to know that he's emotionally present for me. And she went through this inner shift of realizing what she really needs and what she really wants. She never even said anything to him. And then she called me up. She's like, Alexander, it's the craziest thing. He's now coming into the kitchen and talking to me and sitting down at the bar stool and asking me about my day. He never did that before. Like, what changed? Well, the only thing that changed was her energy, how she was showing up in the relationship based on her cards to play, based on what she really wanted and needed. It transformed their whole relationship dynamic.
Those
As
are
if by magic.
fascinating stories. Now, this system of the cards, can it tell us, indicate with us, for us, what we are going through as a culture about the times we're living in?
Wow, that's a very good question. It can. That takes us down a whole nother deep rabbit hole, but yes, it can. And we can even look at Donald Trump and politics through the lens of these cards. Yes, and America has a birthday. All, even corporations, we can look at their born on date and see what the corporation's cards to play are. But the United States of America, born on July 4th, is born to play the Jack of Diamonds. So once we know what that means, it actually makes a lot of sense about our nation generating wealth, because that's what the Jack of Diamonds wants to do, is generate wealth. But the Jack of Diamonds can be unethical. The end justifies the means, by any means necessary. And so then there's also 13 cards in the life of the United States of America. And what we haven't discussed is that we also have yearly cards. So we have lifelong patterns, which I write about in my book, but then we also have yearly cards to play, and your viewers can find out their yearly cards on my website. I have a free lookup widget there. But so we can look at America's yearly cards and see what America as a nation is going through each year. And that is something that we could do. That would probably be a whole nother radio show though.
Yeah, that would be quite fascinating. Now, again, what we're primarily talking about is our soul purpose.
Yes.
So does our birth card reveal our soul purpose? You also talked about a personality card. Does that help indicate our soul purpose as well?
Yes. When I'm doing readings and coaching for people, I take the birth card and the personality card together. And the personality card comes, now it overlaps with astrology. So this system does overlap with astrology. The personality card comes as the ruling planet of whatever star sign, sun sign we were born into. And so I'm born into the sign of Virgo. So Mercury is the ruler of Virgo. My Mercury card in my life path is my personality card, right? So we have planetary cards. Whatever one is the ruling planet of the sign you're born into, that's your personality. And so I do take them together, birth card and personality card, to give a bigger picture. So we'll take you and as an example again, the Jack of Clubs, you're here to generate the new forms of knowledge. And your personality is the Two of Clubs. And the two is through connection and conversation. And I can't imagine that that's happening right now. Could that actually be happening? That you're living your soul's purpose right now? You are, right? Because you're generating new forms of knowledge through a one-on-one connection with someone like me or whomever else. And through this interaction of the conversation, that's how you're generating something new in the world. So you're living your soul's purpose by doing this radio show.
Thank you. I certainly feel that way, and hopefully other people will benefit.
Yeah.
So we have a birth card and a personality card. And then you mentioned that there's 13 cards if you're doing a complete reading. What
Yeah.
are the other cards reveal about us?
Sure. So we have a moon card. So it's very similar in scope to astrology. We have a moon card that shows us what nurtures us and supports us in life. A Mercury card, how we think. A Venus card, which would be for you as a woman, how you identify in a romantic relationship and how you show up in a romantic relationship. Mars card for you would be the kind of man that you're attracted to. Or if, for example, for me, born as a man and identifying as masculine, my Mars card is how I show up as a man in the relationship. Like the old story, women are from Venus, men are from Mars. We can see exactly what those archetypal patterns are in the cards. Your Jupiter card, abundance and how to make more money in your life. Your Saturn card is where your lessons in life lie. And also where to and how to get your health in order. Right? Saturn rules health. So you want to play your Saturn card right in order to get healthy. Your Uranus card is what pivots and adjusts you in your life, can throw you some curveballs and give you some surprises. The Neptune card is what you're dreaming about, what you're fantasizing about. It's also your power play, right? So you want to be more powerful in life. You want to play your Neptune card well. The Pluto card, which is the 9th card, that shows you your shadow side, your underworld, the unconscious. And that's where the integration lies, to consciously face our own shadow side and bring that forth. And that's how we take our life to the next level. And then after the 9th card, we go out of the planets, and now we're in the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th card, which are like the royal court, the princess, prince, queen, and king. And so the 10th card, or the princess card, that's our reward in life for playing our cards right. The 11th card, which is the Jack card, that's where we must take personal responsibility and not blame other people. We need to do that part ourselves. So whatever that card is, that's what we need to take responsibility for in our life. The Queen card, that's where we're perfecting something in our life. And again, to not blame it or project it onto others, but to do that ourselves, to perfect that. And then that energy also nurtures us and supports us. The King card, or the 13th card, that's our final destination in life. And that's the crown that we can wear if we play it well, if we embrace that. So interestingly, my King card is the 2 of spades, for example. So for me, to master my game in life and to put on the crown of my authority is actually to work in partnership. 2 of spades, and a conscious partnership. And that's something my wife and I are embracing. Is we're starting to work together and teaching this knowledge, and we do relationship workshops. And I know that that's my final destination, and that represents my authority, is to work in conscious partnership with another. So I'm consciously playing my cards right by consciously building the partnership that I know is my final destination. So in all of these, we can start consciously taking action. And this is what I coach my clients to do, of how to take action to play your cards right in your life.
So this is really fascinating information, and it's based on deep archetypes that have been around for a long time,
As long as we know.
as long as we know. And so when someone, in your experience, final question, when we play our cards right, how does that empower us to fulfill our soul purpose?
That's the $1 million question. And what it does is it allows us to relax into ourselves. People tell me they get a lot of validation, like, oh, I kind of knew that was true about myself, but now I really resonate with that. And so what that does then is it allows people to have confidence and to take action based on that, right? So then we take confident action, which is a step of faith. And then we see, oh, that worked. Oh, I can trust this. And then we start taking steps based on what we know is true. And our cards were the tool or the mirror that gave us that validation and that resonance. And then we trust ourselves. We're at peace with ourselves. We're in harmony with ourselves. And then we're emanating that vibration. And then it comes to be law of attraction. What signal are we sending out into the field, and what are we attracting back into our life? And I've seen that the cards help us to change our point of attraction, to be at peace, to be at harmony, and to trust ourselves and take confident action in our lives.
Wonderful message. You've been listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer, Amazon #1 best-selling author. You can find out more about me and my work at catherinecarrigan.com and unlimitedenergynow.com. Our guest today has been Alexander Dunlop, life coach and author of Play Your Cards Right, Sacred Guide to Life on Earth. You can find out more about Alexander Dunlop and his wonderful work at lifeelevated.life. And remember, when you find and fulfill your soul purpose, you're full of energy and natural healing occurs. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.